Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Holistic Hottie, a soul center podcast where we tackle raw conversations with intention and authenticity. Today, I have with me Dani Felt, the author of Becoming Unstoppable, a playbook in which she helps creatives and entrepreneurs achieve their aspirations in life. Today, we'll be diving into a bit of her book, how we can unlearn patterns of self doubt, and what tips and techniques we'll be using to unlock the best versions of ourselves. Hot, healed, and high vibe, let's get into it. So first of all, thank you for joining me. I'm so glad our paths crossed and we were able to connect. I feel like your message, your story, your book aligns with everything I'm trying to get out on my platform. So this is going to be a great episode and I'm super excited to dive into it. So do you want to start from the beginning? Maybe tell me a little bit about your background, your upbringing, and how you got to where you are.
So music has always just been my heart since I was very little. I was singing when I was younger. I went to overnight camps to do musical theater and music and songwriting. I wanted to audition for The Voice when I was, 21. Moved to New York a little bit after that. Didn't get through the audition, but met my roommate to live with. And so when this opportunity came, I took it and I moved in a month later. I started a music blog, and that's kind of how I got my start in the music world is having this blog.
Okay, so do you feel like New York is where you blossomed the most to actually plant yourself and start growing your career?
Yeah, definitely.
Going back a little further to childhood, I was reading in this book that you sent me, a lot of your self-doubt came from being bullied growing up, and I know a great outlet for you was poetry, which you later turned into music. At what point did you realize what your self-doubt was and where it was stemming from?
Being bullied was really hard. You just felt not good enough.
Right.
And music, I feel saved my life. It showed me a way to channel all of that frustration and anger at the people who are bullying me and sadness. And I think that the self-doubt definitely started happening when I was getting bullied. Middle school too, there was just a lot. People are cruel in middle school sometimes.
They are.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of my because I can resonate with you, like being bullied and stuff like that. Also looking different too. I'm not skinny and petite, also have more body to me. So the biggest moments I can think of too is PE classes, right? We all have to change together in the locker room. And so that's when my self-image kind of got tested a little bit, because there weren't a lot of women that looked like me when I was in those dressing rooms and stuff like that. And it came with a lot of bullying. And I feel like personally for me too, a lot of my self-doubt stems from there, because I struggle a lot with comparison, whether it's comparison to me and other family members, comparison to me and other podcasters, comparison to me and the girl next to me at the grocery store. Those little things, they stem so deep rooted, and I'm learning as I go into adulthood, these things are so far back that I've recollected, and if I don't sit and deal with it now, it's going to overlook my whole career and my whole dream aspirations going forward.
It's crazy how much from childhood can affect our life now, and how we make decisions and how we perceive the world. It's so connected, so it is so important to be really self-aware and at least know that. For me, I feel with bullying, it's led me to want to prove the world wrong all the time, and I don't think I'd be as ambitious as I am if I didn't go through that. I'm so grateful for everything that happened, because I feel everything that happened really has shaped me into the person I am today, even though when you're in middle school and high school, you feel life's over and how can I go through this every single day?
Yeah, and it's so funny too, because people say all the time, the people that peaked in high school, that was their moment, that was their aha moment, and that's kind of where they stood. But for you and I know we kind of are on the same playing form, in a sense that we had not that type of experience, but because of it, we're using it as fuel to motivate us to do better with our life and our dreams and our aspirations. And it's so funny, because that's what motivates me a lot too, is proving people wrong, and knowing that some people are doubting me or maybe not supporting me in the way that I want them to. It's damn, now I really have to work hard and show you everything you thought of me is totally opposite, and I'm going to come out so much more successful and actually aspire to feel my dreams and not just sit and talk about them,
Exactly. Yep, it's just fuel. And for anyone, that's listening that has been bullied in the past, you can really use it as an outlet to fuel you know, all the frustration or sadness into like positive energy to do something with that energy, you know, if it's turning into an entrepreneur, starting your own thing, or starting your own blog, or starting your own podcast, or writing your own book, like you can channel that emotion into something positive and, you know, use it to just make yourself better and focus on not competing with other people and just making, like, compete with yourself, like making yourself the best version that you can make.
Exactly. And something else that I kind of wanted to tie into all of this is rejection. I know that's a huge form of self-doubt and kind of halting us from, you know, aspiring to fuel our dreams and stuff. I always like to say, like, something I've been practicing more often is letting rejection be a form of redirection. And I know in your book too, you had a lot of different forms of rejection. How did you take all that rejection and like feel it to keep pushing you? Because I know how tough that can be when you want something and you don't get it, especially like The Voice. Like you said, you auditioned but you didn't make the cut.
It's definitely tough, for sure. I very much like try to focus on, if it's meant to be, it will work out.
Okay.
Like, as hard as that can be. So I try to like go on like a faith basis, like, okay, like if this is meant to be, it will work. And when I don't get that manager thing, or I don't get that label, or I don't get XYZ opportunity, then like that's not the aligned person for me. That's not the right path. And that's helped me a lot, like see things in a positive perspective rather than just, oh, you're not good enough. You know, in life you have so many different potential opportunities and directions. So I think a good way to look at it is, if you don't get accepted to something, you can say, well, there's another path for me that's more aligned, that's better. Maybe you're not supposed to get that opportunity because you're supposed to get this really big opportunity 5 months later and meet that one person, and you never would have got to that if your energy was all focused over here. So I think that's a helpful way to look at it.
Yeah, and it kind of also ties into what you were saying about not landing The Voice, but you met your roommate. So there's always something that comes hand in hand with it.
Yeah, exactly. I got to move to New York. It's like, I feel like everything in our life like has purpose for like the future, and if we can just be grateful for like the blessings of like what's happened in our life, and understand that there's so much positive that comes out of it that you might not see now, but there's so many other things out there when we just kind of be more open to, like, there's endless possibilities.
I know you work with creatives a lot, and in your book you talk about self-doubt, all the stressors. What is a common belief that keeps most people glued to their self-doubt and keeps them in a sense where they can't really get out of that to pursue their dreams?
Not being good enough.
Yeah.
Artists compare themselves so much to other artists, whether it's like, oh, that person has 10,000 followers and I only have 5,000. I'm not good enough. Like, how can a label sign me if I only have X amount of followers, or X amount of songs out there, or X amount of experience? I feel like a lot of artists just feel like they're not good enough, and they're always comparing. And I try to tell people, like, look, you got to focus on your impact that you're making with your art or your business, more than comparing yourself to other people. And second, you don't know the journey of that person and what they had to go through to get to the place they are. You only see the other side where they're like shining, you know, but you don't know like the heartache and the amount of times they were crying every day, or getting rejected for X business loan, or etc. It's important to like focus on just you, like just becoming the best version of yourself.
Yeah, I agree with all that you said, because it's interesting nowadays too, especially everything's on social media, and this is how a lot of people are getting the fuel to reach their audience and outreach and promo and everything like that. And what you said about comparison is so spot on, because we do only see the final product, right? We see these podcasters with like 10 million views on their last episode, and you know, this music video that just dropped for this new artist who to us is new, but they have been putting in work for 7 years, and we don't see all of the back end. And I think that's important is to remember that too, because speaking from personal experience, that's all I do. I'm like, wow, like for example, Jay Shetty or like Call Her Daddy with Alex. Like, oh, they have the whole setup, they have the studio, they have the chairs, they have this, they have that. But it's like, how did they get there? It's not like they were just like, you know what, I want a podcast and just snap their fingers and everything just fell right into placement for them. So I think that's a great point too, is learning how to balance. You are good enough and you can still achieve your dreams without comparing yourself to other people, because comparison is a thief of joy.
Absolutely. It really is the thief of joy. And the other point I want to make is, like, I try to tell our artists to focus on the impact that their music is making, one person at a time, because you don't know, like, who's going to hear your message, that it will save their life, that it will inspire them to change their entire thing. I remember once me and my friend Evan were speaking at this college last year, and this one college student emailed us and said that they completely don't want to quit music now because of our speech. Something we said somehow like activated them to see things in a different perspective. But look at the impact you can make even with one person. So it's important to kind of focus on that too, like the impact you're making versus the amount of followers that you have. It's like every single day when you're putting yourself out there on social media, you can say a message that will make a difference. We need to like focus on the message we're saying, because whatever we say in our heart, like it's meant to be heard. Like it can help someone else. So it's selfish of us to like hide or like say, I don't want to do content today, or I'm just gonna like sit here and pray and not do anything. Like,
right, just hope that it works out for me and it's just a chance of luck, which is something that I didn't recognize as well starting a podcast. I see people go viral and I'm like, okay, I'm just put videos out there and one day something will go viral. That's not how it works. You have analytics, SEOs. It is so technical when it comes to pushing content out. And kind of going back to what you said about having that impact on one person versus 100,000 followers. I used to get stuck in that mindset too. Like, damn, I have less than 100 subscribers. Like, am I just speaking to my close loved ones and my mom's friends? Like, who's really watching my stuff, you know? And as of late, I've been having people, like random people, comment and message me how they like certain episodes, how they resonate with certain things. And those little wins really like help push me to the finish line, because it's like, wow, this person who has no idea who I am, there's no bias involved, thinks that what I have to say is worthwhile and there's quality behind it. So I agree that it's all about quality over quantity, because you and I could have 2,000 followers and then someone else could have 500,000, but it's all about the engagement at the end of the day, because followers don't mean as much as people think.
There's space for everyone to have their own community, and it's about finding your community and speaking your message to the people that resonate with you. And that's not everyone, and that's okay, you know, but you're still making an impact in your community, wherever it is: music, books, author, entrepreneurship, business, teaching, whatever it is, like you're making an impact.
Something I see all the time is that people say that you're never going to be ready to start something. You're never going to have what you need, whether that's financial or mental or physical, whatever you're working towards. And I kind of felt that way too about the podcast. I've had this idea for honestly about 3 years. I just started in November of 2025. And I literally just had to sit in front of the camera on my phone and just talk to myself like I was talking to a friend. And then once I got over that little milestone, it was like, okay, I can talk in front of a camera now. Okay, like let me have people on the podcast now. So I think pushing past self-doubt takes a lot more discipline than motivation. Like you really just have to like push yourself to the limit, because if not, you're going to stay in the cycle of wanting to create and speaking about things and then never doing so, which from personal experience is exactly what happened to me. Like I said, this has been 3 years of me just harboring on this idea. And if I wasn't pushed and motivated by my loved ones to really get in front of the camera and just start speaking, I would still be in my bed doodling on Canva about things that I want to do and not putting them into action and things of that sort.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to just say things that we want or to dream, but the harder part is actually consistency and taking action, and you're doing it. Like you have a podcast, you're showing up is half the battle, but it's the hardest part, I think, is starting and just like getting into the consistency of taking action, even if it's like a small step. I think creatives and people, I have ADHD, and I think a lot of creatives and ADHD people like just get overwhelmed because there's so many options and paths. So I recommend to just focus on one step at a time. What can I do today? I do
Yes.
not have to do 20 steps today. What is one step I can do today? Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I didn't learn that honestly until maybe last week. I was the type of person I struggle to with ADHD. It is kind of crazy because they say it develops later in adulthood, especially in women. And it is so crazy to be glued to your seat because you have so many things to do, you don't know where to begin. And like writing things down, there's actually science in it too that shows like the brain, the reward that we feel when we actually cross stuff off on our to-do list, it actually releases these endorphins and stuff like that to make us feel good, like we accomplished something. And so that's been the biggest for me, because before I was like waiting until the last minute, and then I realized I have to film tomorrow, so I'm barely writing the outline, I'm barely contacting my guests, doing everything that I need to do within one day, and then I'm mentally burnt out the day before I have to film. So exactly what you said, writing it down on a list sounds so simple, but it makes all of the difference. It really does, because now I'm like, okay, this is prioritized, this can wait, this is what needs to get done. And it's really helped me become more productive, especially struggling with like the ADHD and having like 10 different tabs open in your head at once. What are some tips that you can advise others if they're wanting to pursue their dreams but feel unmotivated?
Okay, so a really big thing that we do in my company is help with branding, and a big part of that is finding your why. So I think I encourage people to really dig deep on like why they're doing what they're doing, like what the bigger purpose of it is, because you're not always gonna be motivated every day.
Oh, absolutely.
But if you find like a bigger purpose, it helps. It helps you stay more motivated. Like when I get random reviews for my book and people say it's helped them, then I'm like, okay, like I should probably continue promoting this. Like if this is helping people, like that makes a difference. Even if I compare myself and say, okay, I haven't sold like thousands of books yet, like maybe I should give up. But then it's like, but then you get reviews that are telling you that your book is helping people, or your podcast or music or your project. And then you're like, okay, like this is a bigger purpose. This is part of something bigger. So when you make something that you're doing a bigger than yourself, and the purpose is more about somehow impacting other people.
But also it takes discipline. I think motivation and discipline are very hand in hand. You need both of them to kind of balance each other out when starting your career and pursuing your dreams. Because when that motivation isn't there, you got to really circle back to the why, just like you said, and be disciplined. Like if this is what you're creating, whether it's to help other people or get your expression out or whatever you're trying to find on your own platform, the discipline behind it is one of the biggest, I think, motivators to get you into that cycle of like creating and being consistent and having that flow and not really halting anything in your way. Fear plays a huge role in us wanting to begin but being stuck in the what if mindset. From personal experience, whenever I wanted to pursue a dream, whether that's career-wise or creatively, I feared a lot of perfectionism, and that was my biggest deterrent. Something that scared me away from starting, and still I struggle with because I'm still kind of new and fresh to all of this, is the fear of failure, for sure. I think that's probably the biggest one. Embarrassment and becoming more publicized. I have started to realize on my journey of my podcast specifically, where it's a lot of self-help and trauma and energy work, relationships, there's a lot of things, not that I didn't want to talk about, but it's just different to storytell because these are like personal moments and I kind of keep them more to myself. The whole thing of like, what if someone sees me and they're like, oh my gosh, this girl is so sappy, she's so corny. And then also, what if I work for it for like a year and a half and I don't get the results that I wanted out of it? So that's where a lot of my self-doubt also stemmed from, is all those external factors. But as I grow more into this, I'm also realizing too that my motivation and my aspirations have to be internal. And in the greater scheme of it all, people are really not focused on what I have going on, what I'm doing, what I'm putting out on the internet. So I think it's all kind of a process of learning how to be more internal when I'm making my life more externalized and more public.
I mean, there's always the opposite of what can happen. So it's like the bigger success you have, the more you can lose. And the more money you make, the more you can lose. And the more happy you are, the sadder you can become. Like it's always like when you're stepping into this, you have the equal part, so it's hard, you know. It can be really scary. And as far as being a public figure, it's like they see you this one way because that's how they know you from childhood. But when you're an entrepreneur, you just grow so much into a completely different person because it's a journey of growth. And, you know, certain topics are kind of scary to talk about. Some people from my high school or, you know, from my family or whoever might be like, that's really weird. Like,
Right.
we can't really control how people perceive us. No matter what, we have to continue being our authentic self and speaking our truth and our story, because the right people that need to hear that message need to hear it. I don't know, it can be tough being a public figure because people are like really watching you.
Yeah, 100%. I resonate with everything that you say too, because as my podcast continues to grow, some of the things I want to tap into are sexuality and sexual wellness and all of these sorts of things. And like you said, like having certain people see them, whether it's family or your dad's best friend or whoever it may be, those always just kind of stick in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't want them to see me. And my grandpa, the other day, we were having lunch with some church friends, and he goes and tells the church friends about my podcast, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? I was like, there's some things I don't want, you know, the people that sit next to me during worship to see. But also, I think what you said about being unapologetic, I think that's going to gain you the most respect. Someone who is really true to her crafts and kind of stands on what she believes in and what she wants to put out, what she wants to create, without having that self-doubt. Once we let go of the idea that mistakes are part of the process and it's a beautiful thing to learn, I think that's when a lot of us and other creatives who are maybe watching this will really realize, like, that's where I'm going to bloom the most, when I take myself seriously, no matter who's watching, what opinions are out there, because all I know is that I'm true to myself.
There's always going to be people that criticize, but it's important to also not take advice from people that haven't got to where you are, because they don't know. They're judging with their own perceptions and their limiting beliefs, and that's not their fault. It's how they grew up. That's what they learned. So we can't like be mad at people. I mean, we can, but like we just kind of have to accept people for who they are in a way, and try to put our time and energy into the people that will support us, will believe in us, and that are listening to us.
Absolutely. And also too, criticism is a part of the journey. That's how I feel like that's how you know you're doing something right. If you have someone's feathers wrong, it's like, okay, you have someone bothered, so you're doing something right. Because if everybody was agreeing with you, there's something going on here. You need to ruffle a few feathers, get people's brain really working and thinking differently. And I haven't faced that realization of criticism just yet. I know it'll come one day, because like you said, it's a part of the process. But even with like little comments, sometimes people will disagree with what I have to say, and I like it because it gives me a platform to like engage with them or do conversation and see where they're coming from versus where my mindset is. So it's all very for lack of better words, like tit for tat kind of thing. You kind of have to gain some, lose some, you know, it's all a part of the journey in the process. Going back to your book, what other pieces of advice can you give to really let go of the idea of being perfect and embracing the mistakes?
The beauty of being human is our imperfection, is our flaws, is our unique personality traits. So there's that. Like, everyone's bored of perfect.
You gotta have quirks. You gotta have something off about you. That's all about being true to yourself and engaging people, because they like funny stuff. Nobody wants to be 100% together all the time. They say too, like, you never want to be the smartest person in the room. You never want to be the richest person in the room, because then there's no room to grow. Absolutely. And I've been taking a lot of that into account as of late too, because I am the type of person that if I'm learning a craft on day one, by day two, I better be perfect at it. And if not, then I'm a failure. I'm never getting back into it. And I wish I could just be smart without learning. But like you said, learning and mistakes and all of that is really a part of the process. Because if we're perfect 100% of the time, what adversity was put into that process that challenged us? Like, we can't just expect things to come from the snap of our finger, because then we're not going to have challenges and learn how to handle different things as they arise, because we all know the life twists and turns that come every single day when we're not prepared for it. So
It's like the Barbie movie. Like, okay, like, let's wake up. We're happy. We're eating breakfast. Like, everything's great.
Right.
Like,
That's a great example. That's a
it'd be
fantastic
so
example.
boring.
Right, because then Barbie figures out the men have all these cool jobs, and she's like, "Wait, I want to do something cool like this too. Let me switch up my routine." That I love that
Mm-hmm.
example. That was a great example. That little
Uh,
idea of the rat race and
okay.
the cycle and stuff.
As far as perfection, like when we just like it's a form of self-sabotage when we
Mhm.
don't put something out there because we want it to be so perfect.
That's kind of ties into the cycle of like perfectionism holding us back. If we're so stuck on the idea of like, no, this could have been better, this could have went a different way, we're never gonna grow. We're never going to. You have
Never.
to put things out there. That's when I started this podcast. I didn't have a camera, so I was using my iPad, and then I was using my iPhone, and then sure enough, within like a couple sessions, they were out of storage, and it's like I had to do those first though to kind of get to my roots and figure out even comfortability too. Like now that I have the camera, not only is it better quality, do I have better like lighting and sound and stuff like that, but also I'm more confident too because I practice when I didn't have all those tools. So like you just said, like really just putting yourself out there no matter if it's perfect or not. I remember my first episode, I didn't have a tripod, I didn't have anything. I had different like bins and like a candle holder and something like the chair was holding it up, and the angle of my podcast is all twisted and you can only see like half of my body and like a third of my guests. And that was like my first episode. And then since then, now I have like a tripod and lighting, and I think it's like you said, the beauty and all of the madness and letting those mistakes become the bigger picture. I love that because it's like, wow, this is where I started from and now I have this. Like, look at that growth. Like, I know now I'm like exponential for what is to come in my career.
You just have to be resourceful. If you don't have a lot of money, you just have to be resourceful and build relationships and be passionate about whatever you're talking about because that's what will sell the message or the mission. Whatever you really care about, people will feel that and they'll want to be part of the thing, even if you can't pay them right away.
In today's episode, we shared what it takes to let go of self-doubt, embrace the messiness, and tools that we can use to navigate us into betterment and creating the lives we aspire to have. For all of my hotties out there watching, I want you to reflect and think of which ways you can trust yourself more this week and how you're going to eliminate the stressors of self-doubt and perfectionism. I wanted to take this time also to thank Dani for taking time aside of her busy LA Hollywood schedule and joining the podcast and sharing her tips, sharing the book with us, and giving us all these great tools and advice that we can use to create better dreams and better futures for ourselves.
It was so great connecting with you, Taylor, and having me on your podcast. We've had amazing conversations. Surround yourself with the right team and the right people. And if you want to check out my book, you can find it on Amazon. It's called Becoming Unstoppable, the playbook for creatives and entrepreneurs. You can follow me on Dani Felt Inspires on Instagram and just connect with me there.
Thank you so much again, Dani. I appreciate it. And I cannot wait to see where your career takes you in months or years or however it may fold out for you.